quick and short overview. I know that there's a lot to cover. I'd like to just quickly chat, why should we care about reputations? And why should you care about your company's reputation? And then also when we manage reputations for other companies, why and how do we do that? Then just to look at how healthy is your reputation. How do we know that we have a good reputation? What's impacting your reputation? I'm going to take you through 10 different areas to have a look at. And then it's also very important just to set some SMART goals. So if we have a look at reputation management, why should we, should we not only, reputation management shouldn't just be something that we look at when there is a crisis, and it's not just social media. You won't be wrong to thinking that's the only time. And I think from a public relations point of view, from a reputation point of view, we often get approached when it's a little bit too late, when there is already a crisis, or when something's already been posted digitally. Then we have to deal with a reputation. Ideally, we want to be proactive to avoid any crisis scenarios. But if there is a crisis scenario, to have worked on it so effectively that the crisis is minimized. Then if we have a look at why should we care about reputations, there was a very interesting study conducted by Weber Shandwick last year, and the corporate reputation is an invaluable asset with an appreciable impact on a company's bottom line. On average, global executives attribute 63% of their company's market value to their company's overall reputation. So this is incredibly encouraging that more and more executives as well are realizing and seeing the importance of reputation management, of communication management. I think it's something that's been quite, from a personal point of view, from where we are, to try and get that buy-in from a communication reputation point of view. And it's kind of a no-brainer. The better your reputation, the more people are likely to buy your products and services. So the better your reputation, it is going to impact your bottom line. So how healthy is your reputation? I actually quite like to compare having a healthy reputation to being healthy, to being fit and healthy. I think when we all start out on a new exercise regime, be it cycling or running or going to the gym, you have a vision that you want to either lose some weight or you want to get fitter. But shucks, the minute you start running or cycling after not having done it for a while, things are quite tough. I mean, your lungs burn, your legs feel wobbly, and you think, oh my goodness, what have I done? But then the next day, you try again, you try and go a little bit further, a little bit faster, try and lift a few more weights. And slowly but surely, you get into that habit. And sooner rather than later, you also start seeing the results. But you have to put in the work. So I like to, as I said, I compare being healthy with being reputational fit. And why I say this is like attracts like. So with like, from a physical point of view, you'll probably join a running club, or you'll have friends that are aligned to what you like to do. If you're going to have friends that just sit in the pub the whole day, chances are you're going to sit in the pub the whole day. If you have friends that are fit and healthy, the chances of you being fit and healthy are good. Like attracts like. People want to do business with people that they trust and resonate with. So from a reputation point of view, if you have a good reputation, you'll also start attracting people with a good reputation. Then if we have a look at some of the other ones, there's no quick fix. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix to getting fit. It takes time to build up that stamina. And there's no quick fix to build a reputation. We all know Warren Buffett's very, very popular saying of it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And in this day and age, 5 seconds to ruin your reputation. When you are fit, you recuperate a lot quicker. And when you have a crisis scenario from a reputation point of view and you've built up your reputation, you recuperate a lot quicker when there's a crisis. Then if we also have a look at, you need to measure your progress. How do you know that you are getting fitter? How do you know that you have a good reputation? So it's very important to measure it, to have structures in place to get the feedback, to understand what are the perceptions of your different stakeholders. And then finally, one of the key things is maintenance. You have to continue doing it. Just running around the block once is unfortunately not going to get you fit. Sending out one press release, doing one social media tweet isn't going to build your reputation. And then finally, there has to be balance. You cannot focus just on one area of your business. You have to look at the whole business. You can't just be doing things just on social media, but neglecting your HR side of things. We need to make sure that there's balance in everything. If you're going to be going to the gym and just focusing on one area of your body, we're going to sit with the problem. So the next section that I would like to take you through is a very quick exercise. Reflect on either your own company or a company that you're working with at the moment. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen close by, I'd like you to just quickly reflect on your company's reputation. If you take into consideration what your reputation for the organization, just give yourself a percentage out of 10 for that, for a percentage, out of 100 percentage for your company's reputation. So if you think your company's reputation is 80%, just write on 80. So we're going to get back to that figure in a bit. So the very, very first thing that we want to look at when we measure a reputation. So now what I want you to do, you've put on your percentage, your overall thinking. Now we want to unpack that a little bit further. So I actually want you to write down the number 1 to 10 on your piece of paper. So the very, very first thing that we need to look at when measuring a reputation is a company's purpose. What is the strategic intent? What is this company's vision, the values? Do we know where this company is heading? Because that is the golden thread that needs to be communicated internally, as well as what needs to be communicated externally, what needs to be communicated on all the digital platforms as well. It doesn't just help to have a spray and pray to just put things out there for the sake of it. We need to start to be strategic in terms of what we put out there. So if you think of your company's purpose, is it clear what that is? So give yourself a rate out of 10 for the purpose. The next element from a reputation management point of view are the policies and procedures, the way that we do things around here, the organization's governance. Is that clear? Because a company's reputation is very much the consistency on how things are done around here. You're either consistently good, which is going to build you a very good reputation, or you are consistently inconsistent, which is going to impact your reputation. So having policies and procedures is going to help build that reputation. So do you have a clear step-by-step manual in place to help you how you do things around here? So if you can also just give yourself a score out of 10 for that. And then the next element that we have a look at is the teams that you work with, because they are actually your brand ambassadors. They are the people who are doing the work and representing your brand. They are building or breaking down your reputation. So if you think of your employees, do you have the right people doing the right work in the right way? So give yourselves a score out of 10 for the employees or the people that you are working with. It's all good and well to have an amazing team, but what we also need to make sure of is that they have the right tools and training to do the work that needs to be done. There's nothing more frustrating than wanting to deliver a good service, but just not having the capabilities to do that. So if you think about the training and tools available, would give yourselves a score out of 10 for that. The next building block that we have a look at is the financial side. So it's not, we are not financial auditors. What we do is we look at the perception out there of whether this company is a sustainable entity. So what makes your company unique, the unique selling proposition? Is it, and the reason for that is, why would people spend their hard-earned cash on your specific product or service versus the competition? So we need to be very clear what is our unique selling proposition. And what's a very good exercise to go through after this is perhaps to ask your colleagues and clients, if you have to describe what we do in 8 words, what would that be? And I think you'll get very interesting feedback in terms of whether people are aligned with what exactly it is that you do and what you offer. So give yourself a score out of 10 for your unique selling proposition. How fluent are you and everybody in it? Then we look at the pricing in terms of how transparent, how ethical are the finances managed. Give yourself a score out of 10 for that one. Then a very important component to take into consideration is are your partners and your suppliers, because they play a really important role when it comes to building your reputation. If they do not resonate with your values, they are going to negatively impact your reputation. So there needs to be some kind of a due diligence in place to make sure that you have the right people helping you to achieve your purpose. So give yourselves a score out of 10 for suppliers and partners. Then part of this building block, a very important side of it, is your corporate social investment. How are we sustainably helping the communities in which we live and work? So it is really something which is, I think, everybody's responsibility to look after everyone else. And not to just do charity work or CSI work for marketing purposes. It needs to link back to your purpose. So give yourselves a score out of 10 for that. These building blocks do not work in isolation. They're not mutually exclusive. They are all glued together by communication. So internally, we need our teams to be fluent in this is our purpose. This is how we do things around here. This is what makes us unique. This is who we're doing business with, and this is how we're working with the communities around us. So in terms of internal communication, in terms of how fluent everybody is with these building blocks, give yourselves a score out of 10 for that as well. This then guides us in terms of what to communicate to our different stakeholders. What is that message that we need to communicate? Are we touching on these building blocks when we communicate externally, when we do our digital marketing? This guides us to make sure that we're sending the right message to the different stakeholders that we're engaging with. It guides us what we need to go onto our website. It guides us onto our social platforms from a public relations point of view, our websites, because I think very often the tricky part is clients want us to focus on the pretty stuff on the websites and the social media side, but not sufficient work has been done internally. So we can send out the most amazing marketing campaigns, the most beautiful, most quirky, and the most impactful. But if that sale comes in, because ultimately it's all about getting the sales to get awareness for people to take action about something. Let's say they come in and they want to make a sale, but your employees don't have sufficient training. Your employees, it's just a job for them, they hate it. That sale's going to be lost. All of that marketing budget that you have put into this beautiful campaign is going to be absolutely lost if we don't have the structure in place. So what I want you to do is to give yourself a score out of 10 for your external communications. Then I'd like you to quickly add up. There should be 10 numbers there, and that should add up to 100. Then I'd like you to just compare that number that you've just calculated to that initial number. Remember at the beginning, you wrote down an initial number for your reputation. So I'd love you to compare that number to the number that you've just had here. And it would be lovely just to hear any of your comments, any of your thoughts at some point with what were the biggest gaps, what were the biggest surprises. So in terms of when you looked at your reputation initially, what you thought it was versus having a quick look. So what's a very valuable exercise to do then as well is to have research, and this is where if you measure it and if you treasure it, you'll measure it, is to find out what are the perceptions of all of your different stakeholders. So what do your employees think of you in terms of all of these different building blocks? What do your customers think? And what do your suppliers think? Your key stakeholders, the media, the governments, unions, whoever is pertinent to your organization. What are their perceptions when it comes to your organization around each of these building blocks? Because those perceptions are what are building your reputation. And that's what's building it up or breaking it down. So we want to understand, we need you to understand, what are those gaps? Where do we need to communicate more of? What do we maybe need to focus on even more so that we can make those gaps a lot smaller to build your reputation? So what you can also do, there's a quick QR code here just for after the session to also just quickly complete, and you can send this to your colleagues and family and friends. It's 20 very, very quick questions to ask them about your organization. And they will then get a percentage also around each of these different building blocks, an overall percentage. And then you can just ask them to send it through to you. And then you can also compare to see how does, and again, your initial score versus the score of going through this exercise and their scores. Is there a difference? Ideally, if you have a good reputation, if it's solid, all the scores should be quite high and very stable. If it's not as strong as you thought it might be, you're going to see some fluctuation. Some are going to be very low, some are going to be very high, but this is going to give you a very good ballpark figure. The next exercise to go through, just out of interest, a good reputation. We've been doing this for the last 16 years, since 2005. So we've taken every single reputation study that we've ever done, we've consolidated it, and a good reputation benchmark is 77%. Anything lower, we need to have a look, how do we get that up? But as with most things, as long as we have a 75, 77 or above, you're in the healthy category. The next exercise, which is really quite a helpful exercise to go through for yourselves, is all those scores that you've written down. Anything that you've given yourself 8+ would be a strength, and see, how do we communicate more around that? Anything that is 6 or 7 is an opportunity to create, to focus on. 4 to 5 would be a weakness, and 3 or less is a threat. So those are the areas to have a look at. Shucks, we need to put some work in here. What can we do to improve our reputation from here? So then, how did you score? I would love to, as I said, hear your feedback on that. And then from there, what's really, really valuable is just set some SMART goals. It's all good and well. And I think in general, with conferences, with sessions like this, there's a lot of information it's to take in. But what I'd love for you to take home from this particular session is to set yourself some SMART goals. So what SMART goals? What are the 3 SMART goals that you are setting yourself to build your company's reputation? And just to confirm, a SMART goal, it needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So for example, if I was going to say I want to get fit, that's a great goal, but how would I know that I'm fit? To make it specific, to say I want to run 10 kilometers by the end of October within an hour. It's very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And to do that very similarly, looking at the threats and the weaknesses that you have identified, to say, you know what, I need to send my employees on a training course to improve customer satisfaction by the end of November. So to be very, very specific with that. And it really, really helps to write it down. It helps to verbalize it, and the chances of it then happening is a lot better. So we've gone through a lot of information. So I would really, really love to hear any comments, any feedback, any questions. I'd love to hear your comparisons with your percentages. So Kenneth, I would, over back to you, Kenneth.
You got it. So Haruto from Japan asks, what's the most important digital marketing? I guess what he means is the most important digital marketing tactic for dealing with reputation management.
One
It's
of
a
the
broad
key
question, but I
thank you. I think it's a really important question, and you can let me know whether I'm touching on this. Whether it's online, digital, the very, very first, the basics of it all, the fundamentals is to have very clear values in place. What are your organization's values? Because that's going to guide you in terms of what to communicate, and that's going to impact your reputation. And it's all good and well to say, yeah, we have values, and you have a wonderful poster on the wall that has random words on it. But until your employees actually have that ingrained in their DNA, in terms of what they think, their behavior, their actions, um, it needs to be a golden thread in every single piece of communication, be it internally, be it digital, is to fundamentally start with the basics of the values of the organization. And that then will also guide you how and what to put onto the digital platforms.
Okay. Very good question. Last question from Sherry. Should you have a digital crisis plan in your business, and how do you build this?
Definitely, one most certainly. Digital communication. It's very important to have that crisis communication, digital communication policy, and structure in place. And it's literally to just go and start with step by step. So it's having a look what has been posted, what is the crisis, and then from there to ascertain, is this going to actually impact the daily running of the business, in terms of, if we don't do something now, the business is going to shut down. What do we do then? Is this something that we just manage quickly online, or is this something that we just kind of let go? So you have three categories: a red that's a massive threat, amber, and then a green. And then from there, you have your step by steps. If this is something that is massive, a huge magnitude, you're going to call a board meeting in terms of, this is what we need to do. These are the key messages that we need to send out. This is the spokesperson for it. This is how we're going to prevent this from happening again. This is what we're currently doing to rectify the situation, and to put in timelines. That plan needs to be as detailed as possible to make sure that the crisis is dealt with as quickly as possible. Within any crisis scenario, you want to act as quickly as possible. You want to set people's minds at ease. Um, you need to be empathetic throughout all of it as well. So you really, and then importantly, it shouldn't just be a document that's saved in a folder somewhere. People need to go on training. You also need to have a digital marketing policy in place. What can we and what can't employees and people put onto social platforms? You can't be too descriptive. But again, your values within your organization are going to attract the right employees, attract the right people, and help them to put the right things onto the social platforms.
Great. Well, listen, Regine, thank you again. Really enjoyed this. I'm going to move you back to the audience, but I really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us here on DigiMarcon.